And and that's real relational database connectivity. What I was going to warn you about with Power BI is when you connect the tables in Power BI, it only lets you do a single connection between tables. And as anyone familiar with it, you'll know that some tables have multiple items that make up their primary key. That's how you identify a unique record, right? Is the primary key. And sometimes it takes several items. In Power BI, it only lets you connect one item from a table to another table. So as you're building your data warehouse or whatever you're going to build with, you try to make sure if you're going to connect, you assemble some type of a column that is these items concatenated or something like that together so that you have a single primary key that you can connect. Okay? Okie doke. In this case, this is a very simple model. And so all I have is one table that I just brought in. So this is the view where you see the tables and their connectivity. The next view is data. Sure. Oh, it's not? I thought it was. Sorry. My bad. Let's see. So we're recording.
You roll on share?
Oh, there it is. And then the screen.
Let's see, we can, yeah, you can go on the screen. I think that will be better.
Let's see.
This is like the different.
Well, if I do the entire screen, yeah. If I can do that, then I'll. There we go.
Yeah. Then you can go back and forth.
Right.
What you were doing.
Okay. So hopefully, let me maximize. There. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I assumed I was sharing. Sorry. Okay. Now, okay, so this is our data, right? So this is what we got from some source online. As I look at this data, looking at these items here, you can see these are character based. And this one called plant, I've noticed it's always lake. So this thing just has one plant so far, at least as far as this file is concerned, just called lake. Now the source, that's more useful. That has lakes 1, 2, 3, and 4. This parameter of SO2 tons, that's always constant. And then the units is always tons, and that's constant. So that, to me, that's a very inefficient use of columns in this table. You just don't need that. You know, it's kind of a waste of space. Okay, and then we have dates and values. The value, I guess, is a measure of this. I don't know if it's a gas or what they're doing, but that's their measure. Okay, so after that, I think we'll try to get started. Okay, so the first step of this, I guess they gave me like a little exercise somebody had built for this data set. So they want to start with a line chart. So all of these are the little visuals. And I think this one's the line chart. So you see a couple of lines on it. So I'm going to click on it. And that brings an empty template to my canvas. Okay. So let's see. This area is for filters, and I'm not filtering here. So I'm just going to minimize that. But this is the visualizations. Let me bring that back. Okay, so this is how we hook everything up. Okay, so it's kind of cool. I might have to bury that. There we go. Okay, so this is how you hook up. Like, what's the x-axis, y-axis, the legend, and things like that. So looking at their instructions, they wanted me to drag the date column to the x-axis. Okay, and then drag the value, which is right here, to the y-axis. Okay, now let's see, let me open this up a little bit. Now, it looks kind of funky here, but that's because my date is being treated as a hierarchy, and I'd rather have that as just a single date, right? And so I'm going to select date. Now, as I select date, now you're starting to see at the bottom, you can see the January of 22. And apparently this goes to about December of 23. So it's about 2 years of data, right, is what we've got. Okay, so then, let's see, that's the sum, and that's good. Okay. And then they wanted me to add plant to the legend. But if I do that, if you remember, plant just had one value, right? It was just set to lake. And so when I try to do that, it doesn't change much. It's kind of useless, right? So what I would say, I'm going to hit the X to unselect it. And I'm going to bring in source, because remember, source had like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to bring that in. Okay, so now that I get that, now we have a lot more data, but it looks ugly, right? It's not just me. Right? Okay. And so it's ugly because the data is changing dramatically day to day, right? And so it might be more meaningful for someone to take a smaller slice of it and look at it that way, right? So let's do that. Let's bring on a slicer. It's one of my favorite things. So I'm gonna click in the pane to unselect my line chart. And I'm going to go back to the visualizations and click on the slicer. So that gives me a new visual, a slicer. And I'm going to tie this to the date. So when I do that, I didn't see it. Let's try checking it. There it is. Okay. So this is an interesting kind of a slicer. It's a way of filtering your data. All right. And you could do this two ways. So you know that it goes from January 1st to 22 all the way up to December 31st to 23. So if I just wanted to pick a random date, let's try 5 10 22 to, let's go 5 31 of 22. Okay. When I do that, okay, I've shrunk this window, and Power BI automatically expands the chart to fill the space, because that's how big I wanted my visual. But it lets you get a look at what the data looks like in a smaller set. Now, it did not honor my little 5-1. So I'm going to redo that. Let's see, 5-1. There we go. Okay, so now you can see what this other part of the slicer is doing too. And so this kind of, it's like a slider, and I could slide this around anywhere I want to get a slice of that data between those dates, right? So that's kind of a cool feature that helps me look at that data. And when I see it visually, I get a lot more out of it this way than I did looking at the table, right? Okay, so I think this is a good place. I'm just gonna, oh, the way this works, remember I showed you your data model over here on the left, right? So this is This is your table view, and this is your data view. This is your data model, right? And that gets used, and you might want to build a whole lot of things with it that just don't fit in this canvas, right? So they give you these little pages, but everything is basically fed from the same data model. Okay, so that's an important thing to remember. And so I'm gonna rename this and line chart. And then we'll go on. Okay, so now I'm gonna do another exercise they got. So they want a clustered bar chart. See here, I think it's stacked. There it is, clustered bar chart. I'm going to click on that. And then they want me to drag plant to the y-axis. Yeah, I got a bad feeling it's not going to help much. Okay, and then drag the value to the x-axis. Value, value, value. It's alphabetic. You'd think I'd be able to do that. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so the plant, by doing plant, it didn't really help much, right? Because it's always lake. And it's like, well, this not helping much. So let's change that to source. So I'm going to get rid of that and go to source. Okay. Okay, so there's my sources. And then, is that right? Oh, my bad. My bad. I need to go back. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that, go back to plant, because I should have been seeing different colors. So the source is used as the legend. So if I put that as the legend, there you go. You see the legend up here where it says source lake 1, lake 2, and then the colors indicate which lakes we're talking about. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make that a little bit bigger. Now, what it's doing, it's summing up everything. And so once again, this might not be very helpful. So I'd recommend a slicer. And so I'm thinking I'm going to put up a date slicer, but I'll show you a different way of doing a date slicer, right? So let me bring up a date slicer. And this will be date. There we go. Now, instead of this thing, I'm going to go to the date hierarchy. Okay, so what this does now, this will let me look at the dates. Power BI already knows like some basic information about dates, right? Because it's composed of years, quarters, months, and dates, right? Individual. And so this gives me the ability to drill down into the exact time frame that I'm talking about. So I could go down, let's say, let's try August 1st. So this is just one day, right? That's just August 1st. If I hold my control key, I can select several, and then it sums them up all quickly and easily, right? Okay, so that's another way of doing that. A cool thing about slicers, they have this little thing up here. What that is supposed to be is a pencil eraser, okay? But that's the way you clear a filter. So if you set a bunch of things and you want to clear it, you just click that and it clears it to you back to the normal unfiltered set. Okay, so from here, I think I'll save this. Yeah, and this is the clustered bar chart. So I'm going to rename that. Hold on. Rename. There we go. go on to the next one. Okay, so that was cool. We've seen a couple things there. Okay, now they want us to look at a scatter chart. I don't know if you've ever done statistics. Okay, so I'm going to bring on a scatter chart. This thing pretty big. Okay, so they want the T average, that's the average temperature from our data set, and they want that on the x-axis. So T average to the x-axis. Okay, so that's there. And then the SO2 emissions to the y-axis. And so that's value, I think, right? Value is what they call it. To the y-axis. Okay. And let's see here. That's doing some, don't summarize. Okay. All right. So we're getting somewhere. Okay, so sum of T average. Let's see if I open that up a little bit. So that's the scatter chart. Yes. Okay, the slicer comes from the visualizations. It's the one there with a little funnel. It's hard to tell. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, so that's, so and there's the scatter chart. And so that gives me this thing, and then I'm supposed to add, if I can add source to the legend, if I click on the visualization, then it brings up all these properties, right? And there's legend. So I'm going to drag source to legend. Okay, there you go. So that's what the scatter diagram looks like. So if this were a perfectly